Hello aspirants, taking a look at editorial for 4th October 2016. The two editorials in the Hindu newspaper. The first one in black and white. This is regarding the black money which has turned white now. That is under the income tax disclosure scheme which had been launched by the present government. So under which taxpayers could declare their income. A 4-month amnesty was given. So all those income which they had not declared earlier or under declaration can be now disclosed and taxes be paid at a penalty rate of 45% rate, and they would not be prosecuted. The government had given an assurance too that their names would be kept confidential. So this was the scheme. We have already discussed this in news on 2nd October 2016. They had demanded that they want some time to pay the amount. So the Central Board of Direct Taxes has also given them concession in that they can pay in installments, which will go until September 2017. So this editorial basically discusses that the collection under this income declaration scheme of 2016 has been substantial. 65,250 crores have been collected, which is huge. So it is a success. So the other thing which it discusses is that this income tax department had sent lakhs of letters, around 7 lakh letters were sent to suspected tax evaders based on the information they had collected from bank transactions. These were transactions which were done without PAN card details. So they sent letters, and of course there was a fear. They had given this, that you use this amnesty window and disclose your income right now, else we'll start prosecutions against you. So of course people were scared that after this 4-month window, if prosecution, investigation starts on them, it's better that we disclose our income. So this has been successful. Other things which this editorial asks for is that if the center is serious about attacking India's thriving black economy, it needs to be bold and for starters make some changes and initiate some action. One thing it discusses is making electoral funding transparent, because funding for elections run in huge amounts and you have to disclose his income in front of the election commission, and whatever is disclosed is substantially less than actual funding which goes on in elections. So that is one aspect, making electoral funding transparent. Second is curb the misuse of wealthy of tax-free income source for farmers. So wealthy tax farmers, agriculture is not taxed. So when agricultural income is not taxed, even wealthy farmers are free of taxation. So that is one aspect here. You have to curb that misuse. And the third thing it says is encourage cashless transactions. So when transactions take place through bank accounts, transfer of money through banks, it's all official, legal, and it comes on record. So that will help in curbing black money. So this is the editorial. This we have already seen. The next editorial is the elusive peace in Colombia. This also we have discussed in news on 3rd October yesterday, that Colombia peace deal. Colombia is a country in South America. Peace deal between the government of Colombia and FARC, an armed terrorist organization in the country, has been put to referendum. So that is, the people would vote whether this peace deal should take place or not. So if it is approved, the peace deal will be put into effect, otherwise it would be rejected. So in the result of the referendum also we got in the news today that it has been rejected, the peace deal, by a razor thin majority. So now the peace deal is no longer effective. The editorial also discusses the reason being that it had given too many concessions to FARC, because the FARC had started in around 1954. It was fighting for the rights of farmers in the country, and it became an armed revolution. It had been inspired by Marxism, something similar to Naxalism which we see in India, and they started fighting this war and later got involved in, by themselves admitting right now too, they were involved in illegal drug trafficking. They had recruited minors among them. They have committed vast human rights violations, massacres. Lakhs of people have been killed. Around 2,20,000 people in these 5 decades of war have lost their lives. Millions of people have been displaced. So of course the president wanted to bring in peace in the country. So he was keen on having a peace deal, but it has been rejected because of too many concessions, like they would not be prosecuted for all these as war crimes. Thus, they would be prosecuted in special tribunals with reduced sentences. The armed members of rebels of this FARC would be inducted into the armed forces of Colombia. they can stand for elections. So presidential elections, they can stand for the presidential elections, fight elections. In the legislature too, 10 seats would be reserved for FARC, where these members can stand for elections till around 2026. So such were the kind of concessions given. So of course it was said, as the editorial also says, the main criticism is that justice is being sacrificed for achieving peace. So too many concessions were not approved by the opposition, and now as it is seen by the people as well. So FARC still states that they will continue with peace and they will renegotiate a deal. Of course, this deal did not have to be put to referendum. It was not mandated. But the president took this initiative. He wanted people's opinion. They are, of course, politicians, representatives of people. So now again, if the second peace deal would be put to referendum or not is another thing. But yes, that's what they will go ahead with. And the editorial, one more thing which it suggests is that the peace deal negotiations had been going on for long. It was since the last 4 years that the negotiations were going on, and finally a peace deal was struck. This was due to even the intervention of Cuba, a neighboring country here. So the neighboring means it does not have a land boundary, but a country in this region. The Colombian government, now this editorial suggests that the Colombian government should also try to win over the opposition, which would strengthen its appeal to the public for a deal. So that is one suggestion which is given here. And of course, peace is what should be upheld. A peace deal is essential. So the alternative to peace is to send FARC back to the jungles and risk potential resumption of the war. So of course, we need a peace. So a better deal being put up, which have people's approval, is what is required. So these were the two editorials. Next, we look at the question bank. Taking a look at question bank for 4th October 2016. These are questions framed based on articles which come up in the Hindu newspaper on the editorial and perspective pages. So based on these questions are framed. For 4th October, we have 2 questions. So what is expected is that you write an answer for this in 200 words. The explanation which we provide here is much more than that, because it's in detail. You have to write not everything mentioned here, but what is relevant to the question only. The first question is, do the Patent Act or the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act contradict each other? Can Section 66 of the Patents Act be invoked in the case of BT cotton in India? This is the question. We'll discuss the 2 acts first and whether they contradict each other or not, and then we'll discuss Section 66 of Patents Act. The first act, Patents Act, that was formed in 1970. This was a successor to a colonial era act of 1911. That was an old act, Patents and Designs Act. The Patent Act of 1970 gave only process patenting. Means the process is new, will be patented. The final product will not be, because one process creates one product, and then using another process, if you are creating something different, is fine. But if one product is slightly enhanced and another product is prepared using a slight different process, then they will demand patent for that also. So product patenting was not given earlier, but under TRIPS, Trade Related Intellectual Property Rights, under the WTO. To become TRIPS compliant, we had to amend this, and in 2005 an amendment was passed to make India having even product patenting. So final product being new is also patented in India now. So now another aspect in this you should know about is compulsory licensing, which is there in patenting. So what happens is patented commodities have very high prices, because it's not just the manufacturing cost, but they also add in the cost in research, the cost inculcated in research. So the prices go extremely high. So when the government feels that the patent holder is demanding exorbitantly high prices for some commodity which can be used for larger good, for something like a life-threatening disease, and people are suffering, and the drugs, pharmaceutical drugs are very high, very costly. So then they give compulsory license. So compulsory license is given to any other company by the government to manufacture the same patented drug. So this drug will be manufactured, and a cost price, it will be near the cost price that this product will be distributed and sold. So this will be very cheap. These are the drugs which are called generic drugs. So generic drugs are a generic form of these patented drugs under compulsory license. And remember, compulsory license is also WTO compliant under TRIPS. So this provision is already there. So this is about the Patents Act. The next act which is there is Protection of Plant Variety and Farmers' Rights Act. Now this act was also passed in 2001 to give some patenting rights even to seed breeders and farmers. So breeders, seed breeder companies can also demand some form of patent or some compensation reward, and even farmers, because basically this is for agriculture. So for agricultural commodities, crops, more so about GM crops, when these commodities are developed, these companies will have farmers involved because they will be experimenting and farmers will develop new varieties. So in this act has provisions for even rewarding farmers, even rewarding a complete village which is substantially involved in these researches, and all these new varieties formed have to be registered under this act in a registry. On that registration you get something like a patent only. So that registration is even free for farmers, otherwise there's a fee. So the farmers can claim compensation under this. If the new seed which has been developed is not resulting any gains, then a compensation will also be given to them. So this is the act. Now the issue is about genetically modified crops only, and more so the only GM crop which is there in India is BT cotton. BT stands for Bacillus thuringiensis, which is the bacteria whose genome codes are used to kill the bollworm, a pest which generally infects the cotton plants. So this BT cotton has been developed by a company called Monsanto, and it has been given a patent in India as well. The Bollgard 1, the first patent was actually not patented in India because that was before 2005 when we did not have process patenting, product patenting. And then after that, the Bollgard 2, which has been developed, has been patented in India. And presently what we see is BT cotton is again being infested by bollworm. Such news have come from Andhra, Maharashtra. So this genetically modified crop, BT cotton seeds, are not as effective as they were earlier. Means resistance has been generated and now they are not as effective. So as a response to this, cases have been filed against Monsanto and there are demands that its patent be rejected. So that is the section 66. So section 66 of Patents Act allows the government to revoke a patent if it is used mischievously against the government or is generally prejudicial to the public. That is not actually clearly the case in this matter. Only the effectiveness of BT cotton has reduced. So section 66 does not clearly apply. This is still under consideration. And about the two acts, Patents Act and Farmers' Rights Act, been contradicting, there is no contradiction, this article says, because patenting right is already given to the Monsanto, to the owner of the patent, and that upstream right is given down forward to the breeder seed companies to breed these patented BT seeds. So that is a right under Farmers' Rights Act. So that upstream patent cannot be revoked because of that. So there is no contradiction. Both have their patent rights. The next question is on MGNREGA. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act is not only a pioneering livelihood security program but also a great example of proactive disclosure of information through its management information system. Discuss its merits and shortcomings, if any. So this is MGNREGA, the Rural Employment Act, guaranteed, right to employment is guaranteed under this. They have put in management MIS system, electronic database system, under which everything is recorded on computer in the database. This is real-time, transaction-based real-time system in which every work which is given to a worker is registered. That when they make the demand for work is registered. When they are made a payment, it is registered. But there are lacunae in this. Of course, this brings in a lot of transparency. The lacunae which the article discusses is that it is accessible within a limited time frame, 6 AM to 6 PM. It does not provide any data dictionary. There are different names given to different column headings. So one time they will call it payment date, another time they will call second signatory date, and they are meaning the same. So that is another aspect to it. So explaining what each terminology means and not using different terminologies meaning the same thing. And another aspect, fourth aspect, which it discusses is that there's no clear linkage because job card numbers are allotted to workers. That and the fund transfer order numbers, there are no links.